In certain relationships, your simple decision to withdraw is enough to provoke a deep crisis in the other. There was no betrayal. There were no screams. You simply chose to step back. You chose silence, distance, autonomy. And yet, the other collapses. Anger, panic, accusations, despair. As if your absence had ripped out some fundamental piece from their soul. This disproportionate reaction has an explanation. And it is not rational, it is psychic. Carl Jung teaches us that in many bonds, especially those guided by unconscious forces, you are not seen as an individual, but as a symbol, a projection. The other mentally shapes you to occupy a specific role within their emotional structure. You become what they need, a mother who nurtures, a father who protects, a mirror that validates, a support that keeps everything standing. And that is exactly why, when you leave, what collapses is not just the relationship. It is the illusion. It is the unconscious support that you represented. You were not just you. You were their emotional balance. John Bowlby's attachment theory, along with Mary Ainsworth's research, shows us how many build emotional bonds marked by a constant fear of abandonment. People with anxious attachment live on alert. For them, your presence is synonymous with stability. Your predictability is what prevents anxiety from overflowing. When you break this pattern, what shatters is not the affection. It is the structure that kept the emotional chaos contained. And Margaret Mahler describes this moment as a forced birth. Because when the symbiotic bond is broken, the other's psyche is forcibly pushed into the perception of separation, of individuality, something that may have never been fully developed. For those who have lived fused with the other, emotionally, symbolically, or unconsciously, separation is not a goodbye. It is an amputation. You did not leave just as a person. You left as a psychic function, as a mirror, as support, as emotional sustenance, and that is why the other collapses. Throughout this video, we will deeply analyze this phenomenon. With Jung, we will understand the role of projections and archetypes in relationships. With Bowlby and Ainsworth, we will dive into the dynamics of anxious attachment. And with Mahler, we will reveal how separation can touch on primitive childhood wounds. All of this so that you understand a hard but necessary truth. The other's despair is not always proof of love. Often, it is just fear. Fear of facing their own emptiness without you as a shield. If you have ever been accused of selfishness for simply wanting to be free, if you have ever felt guilty for prioritizing your peace, if you have ever realized that the problem was never you, but what you represented for the other, then this video is your mirror. Carl Jung said that we are all born originals, but we die copies. Not because we lose our individuality throughout life, but because, without realizing it, we transform into what others expect, and we expect the same from them. In many relationships, what we call love is nothing more than an unconscious game of projections. You do not relate to the other as they truly are. You relate to the image you have constructed of them. And the most unsettling part, the other does the same with you. In the unconscious, you are shaped as an archetypal figure. Jung called this symbolic functions, universal internal representations that reside in the collective unconscious and are projected onto everyday figures. Thus, you may occupy, without realizing it, the role of the nurturing mother, the saving father, the hero, the caregiver, the spiritual guide, or even the shadow, the one who carries what the other cannot bear to see in themselves. The human mind, especially the wounded mind, cannot endure the chaos of emptiness. So it creates. It assigns meanings, even if false, to maintain a sense of internal order. And you, by entering someone's life, can become